If you've been keeping up with the recently announced Sega Mega Drive Mini 2, you know that I've been keeping tabs on the game library. For a while there was no word on a North American version, or hell, any other version for that matter. That all changed recently when it was announced the Sega Genesis Mini 2 was an Amazon exclusive and a partial game library was revealed. To absolutely no one's surprise at all, there are some big changes to the North American version, including some glaring omissions from the Mega Drive Mini 2. And speaking of the Mega Drive Mini 2, we have 11 more games announced, which include a couple of real shockers. That means we have a lot to go over, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and get that Sega Genesis Mini 2 announcement out of the way. This little guy is being released the same day as the Japanese version, October 27th, and comes in at a little over $100 before international shipping tags on another $22. There have been 23 games announced so far, and here is what you're gonna get. Of the 23 announced titles, only 6 of them are Sega CD games. Sonic CD, Shining Force CD, Sylphied, Mansion of Hidden Souls, Night Striker, and the Ninja Warriors. The strange thing here is that there are some notable absences from the Japanese list. There's no Popful Mail or Starblade, the former being a huge reason why so many of you were interested in the device to begin with. Those aren't the only differences, however. The cartridge library has a number of changes as well. While we are still getting Afterburner 2, Outrun, Virtua Racing, Shining in the Darkness, Bonanza Brothers, Splatterhouse 2, Thunder Force 4, Alien Soldier, and the 2 bonus games Fantasy Zone and Starmobile, new additions include Outrunners, Super Hang-On, Sonic 3D Blast, Vector Man 2, The Ooze, Rainbow Islands Extra, and Rolling Thunder 2. That means the North American release will lose Magical Tarurutukun, Columns 3, Ichiden R, Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, and Mega Panel. That's a fair bit of difference considering we still have quite a few announcements left.
Sega Genesis Mini, the definitive mini console of the year. The next evolution has arrived. Reinventing the Sega Genesis with a new compact design. Sega Genesis Mini 2. Upgraded hardware can store more games than before, including Sega CD titles, the sequels to hit titles, hidden masterpieces that could only be played on the Sega Genesis, ports of blockbuster arcade games, and new games you've never seen before. Preloaded with over 50 classic titles, even more than the Sega Genesis Mini. More compact, more advanced. The new Sega Genesis Mini 2 is here. Available October 27th.
Also announced were 11 new additions to the Japanese Mega Drive Mini 2. And boy was this one heck of an update. Alien Soldier, the classic treasure run and gun, got the call, as did Tetsujin, the Japanese version of Truxton. To everyone's utter delight, Capcom's arcade classic Final Fight CD is here, as is their 40 megabit port of Super Street Fighter 2. It's not alone because we will also see Garu Densetsu 2, or Fatal Fury 2 in the West. There is also a sumo wrestling game based on a Japanese comic book coming, and a Mahjong title that you just knew we were gonna get at least one of. But the 2 big hitters came in the form of Lunar the Silver Star and Eternal Blue, the incredible RPG series from GameArts. We will be getting both classics on this device. To round out the announcement, Sega added the Wonder Mega Collection, a compilation of 4 titles that include favorites like Flicky, and a bonus game called Spatter, a brand new port of Sega's 1984 arcade version. Overall, this was an excellent update with a number of big hitters that I was really hoping to see. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at these titles so you know exactly what you'll be getting. This one shouldn't need much explanation. This is Treasure's last title on the platform, and it's here for all those that missed it back then. More of a boss rush than a true run and gun like Gunstar Heroes, it's a visual and audio tour de force. It's also really challenging, so you're looking at some serious replay value. It's never got a physical release in North America, but it's coming to the Genesis Mini 2 as well. There was one Mega CD title that absolutely had to be here, and Sega does not disappoint. Final Fight CD is finally announced, and here it is with its killer soundtrack, 2-player co-op, and extra time attack option. This was a must-have for the device, and I'm so happy to see it get included. It's one of those play-at-anytime titles that can be great here and there for 15-minute shots, or you can grind it out and go for the final boss. It's a winner and a killer addition. Capcom also makes a showing with Super Street Fighter 2. I was expecting this since Special Champion Edition was on the first one. Parts of me wants to bitch and moan about the sound, but this is still a solid choice. It's 2-player, looks and plays great, and is one of the better one-on-one fighters of the 16-bit era. I prefer the first effort, but this still is good to see. Garo Densetsu 2, or Fatal Fury 2, is a surprise edition I didn't see coming. This was published by Takara in 1994 and is based on the Neo Geo original. Of course, the smaller cartridge size means it's been cut down quite a bit, but it's still not a bad overall conversion. Before this video, I had never played this one before, but it's a sumo wrestling game with a fair bit of story. The gameplay is a mix of standard fighting game special moves, punches and kicks, mixed with some grappling and throw maneuvers. It actually doesn't play bad once you understand the rules. Even so, this will surely be replaced in the North American version when the next batch of games are announced. I guess it's no surprise Mahjong gets a slot on this list. I had never played this one either, and its massive amount of Japanese text guarantees it'll be replaced on the North American Genesis Mini 2. One of the greatest things about owning a Sega CD back during its run was having access to the Lunar titles. Had these not been included, I would have been very surprised, since they were such a big part of the Mega CD experience. If you know these, you understand exactly why these needed to be here, and if you don't, then you are in for one hell of a treat. Great cinematics, easy to follow stories, and a great list of characters round out two very solid adventures. The random battles get a bit exhausting, but everything else about these are absolutely top-notch experiences. Let's hope the North American edition gets them as well. The Wonder Mega was an all-in-one Mega Drive and Mega CD that was developed by Victor. Packed in with that device was Game Garden Wonder Mega Collection, a compilation of 4 games that included Paddle Fighter, Flicky, Pyramid Magic, and Quiz Scramble. Most of these are simple games that were available on Sega's online service in Japan. Paddle Fighter is essentially air hockey, Flicky is a port of the arcade game where you rescue little birds, Pyramid Magic is a puzzle game where you must stack blocks and find your way through obstacles in order to make it to the next room. Quiz Scramble is of course all about answering questions. This isn't a bad little compilation, but it will certainly be replaced for the Genesis Mini 2. Spatter was originally a 1984 System 1 arcade release in Japan. This is about a little dude on a tricycle collecting flowers and avoiding enemies. Think of it as kinda like Pac-Man without the ghosts and dots. It's an incredibly simple title that has an old school charm about it. The version announced here is a brand new Mega Drive port. This one will likely be in the North American edition as well. Tetsujin should be familiar to most of you that owned a Genesis before the Sonic days. It was one of the better shoot-'em-ups on the platform in those simpler times. This was of course known as Truxton elsewhere, but it's the same great game. It was one of the very first titles of its type that I'd play on the Genesis, and boy did it wreck my feeble skills. The soundtrack brings back such good memories, and it doesn't look so bad either. The recent announcements have brought forth some very nice additions. I'm really happy to see some of these games get added, and it's nice to finally see a North American version get an official nod with its own specific library. What is really interesting at this point is whether each region will contain multiple ROMs for each title where applicable. In other words, will you be able to switch something like Lunar the Eternal Blue from Japanese to English? Of note, the North American Genesis Mini 2 will be coming with a 6-button arcade pad, so you Super Street Fighter 2 fans are all set to go. Now that we have 33 titles announced for the Japanese version, we are down to our final 2 lists coming in August. I'm really excited to see how the Japanese and US versions end up being different, and whether Sega gets Konami on board with Snatcher. If you plan on ordering a US Genesis Mini 2, be aware it will be handled by Amazon Japan exclusively, so shipping costs and restrictions will apply. As of the making of this video, there has still been no European edition of the hardware confirmed. I imagine Sega still has plans for one, but it looks like it will be coming later down the pipeline. I hope you guys enjoyed this update and look for more in the near future as more announcements are made. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.